everyone. Today we got to play Witchstone. So, it's a game. And before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Because you like board games, and that's what we do here. Randy, tell us more about this particular game.
So Witchstone was released in 2021. It has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.8 and a Board Game Geek rank of 1879.
Okay.
It's 2 to 4 players. Average length of play is 60 to 90 minutes. Age 12 and up, which is probably about right. Designed by Martino Chiara and Rainer Knizia, pretty well-known designer. Art by Marius Ganzel. It was published by HUCH. That's what you got, exclamation points. That should be HUCH. And R&R Games. MSRP is $49.99, but you can get it at Amazon for $44.95. Card House has it for $39.99, so roughly around $40, which you'll find it for. It is, I don't really know how to describe it. It is a board management as far as your player board management.
I mean, there's a little bit of tile placement that matters. There's a little bit of worker placement.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of area control
going. So there's a lot going on in this game. So let's talk about. Well, first I want to caveat when we played this. We felt it was in the same theme of Bonfire.
Well,
so,
it felt like the aspects of Bonfire that I enjoyed the most.
Right.
That's why I picked it up, because when I read the description, I'm like, oh, you place the pieces and you trigger the icons that touch, and that part of it reminded me very much of one piece of Bonfire.
Yeah, so I just want to kind of touch it out. I like when we kind of connect some games that way people know how to kind of
so this
follow
is
the paths.
nowhere near as complex as Bonfire. Bonfire was a medium to heavy. This is probably more of a light to medium game.
Correct. So if Bonfire was a little too much, maybe this one might be your cup of tea. All right, so let's talk about quality of pieces. You have these really cool, clear gem roads. They're energy pathways, I guess.
Yeah, they're energy.
You got some standard stones that you're trying to get off your board. You have a player board that's cardboard. You have cardboard tiles. Some more cardboard chits. I do like that the tokens are, like, you have them of witches and little owls. I love the little owls, the fact that you use those. Overall,
we also have the cards, and the cards, they're not linen finish.
Right. Which is the same.
Smooth. They're a little thin, but not too bad. But you're only going to shuffle them once a game, so you don't do heavy usage of the cards.
Yeah, I'm feeling a 7 on this. What are you feeling?
I might go a little higher because they custom made like all the different pieces. I mean, you've got the gems, which are one shape. You've got the energy, which is also see-through but is a different shape. You've got all the custom cut wood. The board is really nice. I'll probably go ahead and give this a 7.5.
Okay.
Just a little higher.
Yeah. I will say that the quality feels more than a 7.5, but when you actually look at the components, I feel like that's kind of where it's at. So a little caveat, it definitely doesn't feel that. Anyway, so let's talk about theme. I know I'm a witch. It's called Witchstone. And I know I'm doing things with my witchiness powers. But that's it.
well, you're managing your cauldron, which I like that. I mean, it's pretty cool that you're managing your cauldron.
But here's the thing. Like, I'm moving, like, I'm putting things in my cauldron to, like, move and go up different tracks. Like, it's not really, like, an ingredient kind of game. So I don't like managing your cauldron. Like, that doesn't make any, like...
Well, you've got, you've got the crystal ball on the board that within the crystal ball, you're seeing all the different locations and your energy, your ley lines.
I didn't even realize that.
It's a big crystal ball.
Oh, okay, look at that.
So, I mean, I think it's thematically pretty cool.
I think it all goes together. Yeah. I get what they were trying to do. I'm just not really sure what the story was.
Yeah.
Or the goal, except obviously I wanted more victory points than everybody else.
Yeah. As far as I don't know if there's any story in the book, but we'll see here. Yeah, I think there is a little. Once every 100 years, imminent wizards, I think it's preeminent is what they meant, but they said imminent, like they're like approaching. Imminent wizards and witches gather in a remote region, the location of which has been kept a strict secret for many generations. The purpose of this meeting is to regenerate the energy field of the legendary Witchstone. Through the use of magic spells and rituals, you will ensure the maintenance and strengthening of your own magic powers. That's the story.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously I was the strongest.
But yeah, I mean, I like all the thematic elements they put into it. They got the pentagram. You've got
the art. I will say is phenomenal. Yeah, this is a very pretty.
It
game,
is very
guys.
pretty. You've got the jars on the shelf that you're filling with the gems that you get out of your.
It all makes sense. I just didn't realize how they some of the elements. So I do think that there are a lot of really good pieces. The pieces all work. The pieces are there and they make sense for the theme. I'm just not sure that they blended well in the fact that it's kind of like a mismatch of a bunch of different witch stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, like you're moving up the wand. Why would you be moving up the wand? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's a wand. You know, it makes sense with the wizard or witch stuff.
Right, and then you like have these potions up here, and then you have like this movement. So like it all works, but then at the same time, don't try to think too hard. Like this is don't.
Yeah, then you have scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of that. I think that's what I was kind of getting at is the pieces make sense. I'm just not sure how they put them together. But it's still fun and it's still good. It doesn't detract from the game, and it is a very beautiful game. So what would you score it?
I'm probably gonna give it a 7, mostly because of the art.
I'm good.
And I like the elements that are there, even though the gameplay doesn't lend itself very well to the elements. They're just kind of there, and you take advantage of the shapes of them. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful looking game. So I'm not gonna dock it too heavily on theme here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was feeling the 7 too. I just wanted to see where you were at with this, make sure I wasn't too far off. But yeah, I think 7 is really good. It's really pretty. All the elements do work as far as what the theme is. It's just how they kind of put those together and incorporated those in gameplay. All right, so now let's talk about rules. So
the rule book is super thick because it has like 5 different languages in it.
You know, we're trying to keep it real, man. Accessible to everybody. That's cool.
40 pages. But the English section, which is what we used, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pages.
See?
So it's not too bad.
Not too horrible.
And once you understand the gameplay, it's not hard to pick up as you read through this. It's pretty simple. Sheet. They do have one cheat sheet. That was one of my grievances.
One for English.
Well, it's one in each language, and they put a function on the cheat sheet that is supposed to be you use your player token to mark how many actions you get based upon how many of the connecting things you get, and then you move it down, which means you have to pass that cheat sheet around the table if you're doing that, because that's the only way it would be practically make sense. I don't know why they didn't include multiple cheat sheets. It defeats the purpose of having those tokens, because you're not going to want to be passing that around the table.
Yeah. It's
kind of silly. So there's 2 tokens in the game that don't get really any use. One is just a wooden cube that marks.
What was the toad actually for?
That's for marking that sheet. That's where you put the animal on there and you move it down as you use the actions. And the cube was supposed to go on the action, so you can, when you place the tiles, you know which tile you were using.
So this is how many rounds you have, essentially.
Not how many rounds, it's how many actions you trigger by connecting. So if you had 5 crystals next to each other, you would put it on the 5, and each time you used a crystal, you would move it down.
They only have one of these?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. That's what I said. It really defeats the purpose of that. We never even needed to do that, so it really didn't matter.
Because we can count.
Yes. And the cube was to mark which of the 2 tokens that you have on the board is the one you're currently active on.
And now that one makes a little more sense, because if you're...
As you fill it up the board, you can potentially get lost. We never did, so we didn't really...
Yeah, but I could see where that might be a thing.
Yeah. So, as far as the rules go, it's very easy to read. It's not complex at all. The only grievance is it's in the middle of the book, is for the English one. And there's no summary page to go back to. And the scrolls are all fairly cryptic as far as what the actions are.
You have to look them up.
You have to look them up. And so to find them, we had to put a page marker in the book so we could find it every time when we would reference back. So it was a little frustrating to have to do that because, there was a lot of questions about what the different scrolls did, especially for the in-game scoring ones. Because it is all imagery and, it's iconography.
Yeah. All right, so give it a score, though.
I'm going to go ahead and give this one probably a 6.5. I'll give it, being generous, because the rules are fairly easy to read to understand how to play the game. The fact that you had to sift through the middle of the book for the English version, and the fact that you had to reference it was a problem. I can't give it any higher than that.
Yeah, I think there was some clunkiness to how they were going to be used in one cheat sheet, really.
Right. Not to mention the rulebook is big and takes up a lot of space, so having it have to have it out while you're playing the game and referencing it repeatedly, with the table, our game already takes up most of the table.
Yeah. All right, so then let's talk about gameplay. So, you start out with having 5 of these behind a screen, so it's randomly drawn.
Yeah, we should have mentioned you have these player screens. We didn't mention that earlier, but you have player screens, one
Those
in
are
each
actually
color.
kind of nice.
They're small, but they do have kind of the actions on the back, which is kind of nice. So you're green, so here's your green screen.
Okay. Well, okay, so I'm going to move it so people
You
can
probably
see.
need to put some
Whoop.
voltage.
Yeah, anyway. All right, so I have 5. These would be hidden by a screen. I have 5 of these to play. Now, the thing is I play one for my turn, and then I will replace it at the end. So no matter what, you always have 5 choices, but you can also kind of plan a little bit ahead, which I actually really appreciated because I could almost, this is how I'm going to place them based on what's coming up. Okay, now I just got to figure out the order for it to make sense.
Yeah.
So I actually greatly appreciated that. So once I choose, there are 2 actions that I can do. Now, the amount of matching icons directly impact how powerful that action is. So in this particular case, I have a wand and a witch. So I'm going to say, well, I want my wands to connect because that's what matters more to me right now is I need these wands to connect. Okay? So I have 2 wands connecting and 1 witch action. So my 1 witch action is to take one of my witches and lay it face down on the board so it can then move to claim a spot later on when I have roads built. The other...
Well, you say roads. In this, we call it roads because it's very reminiscent of Ticket to Ride. You're connecting points, destination points, but it's supposed to be energy. It's not really roads.
Energy pathways?
Yes.
AKA roads. So, or the other action would be to traverse where I have it. So let's say I've already built a road here because I'm super cool. So
I don't think that has anything to do with building the roads, but okay.
Anyway, then the other action is if I already had one played here, I could stand it up and move it across those ley lines for 1 movement. Now, as long as I'm using my roads, it's all 1 movement. So if it's all, you can travel as far as you want as long as they're your ley lines. However, you can use other people's ley lines, but for every connection, every route, it takes 1 extra movement, okay? So you can use other people's ley lines, but it does get a lot more costly moving around.
And the number of icons that you have is the number of movements you have. So if you only have 1 icon matching connected, that because you didn't touch one of the existing ones that are already built onto the board, then you're only going to get to move 1 time. Whereas if you had 3 of them connected, you could move either 3 witches around the board, or you could move across other people's ley lines up to 2 times with 1.
Right. So it can be very interesting. All right, and then, so the wand action right here is I have 2 wand. I'm just going to go up here, move this to 1, 2. I get a bonus because I hit a certain area, and those changes from time to time. They change throughout the track, so I understand that the wand just gives you movement up this track.
Well, but the wands will either give you a free action of some kind, one of the existing 6 that are on your board, or they will give you victory points for meeting the conditions. The thing is, if you are the furthest up the track, you get double the benefit of each space.
Which you did,
which
all
I
the
did,
time.
but it's a double-edged sword because the victory point bonuses you don't get double on, and you're not going to, if you race up that track, you're not going to have met those conditions, so you aren't going to give her any victory points.
I made a lot of victory points going up there right there at the
end. Whereas I got up the track super fast, I got double the benefits of the actions going up, but I got no victory points. And what's very frustrating about the wand is they give you an action to get the thing after the victory point condition that's based upon. So, you know,
I think that was done on purpose.
I think it was done on purpose to irritate me because I got up the track and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't get any victory points, and the next space would have given me the things that would have given me the victory points.
That just makes it a little more balanced.
You say so. I don't. That's one of my problems with this game, which we'll get to in a minute. Is the balance.
All right. So one of the other action items are the redstone gem. The redstone gem allows you. So you have these gems on your board, and they get in your way. You don't think they're going to get you in your way at the beginning, but they get in your way. Let me tell you something. These gems, bane of my existence. All right, so for every stone icon, you can move the stone 1 point. Now, the stone has to land on an empty space or off the board. So if you start surrounding the stone, it gets a lot more difficult to move.
Well, you have to end its movement there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You got to land on the empty space. So it gets a little more difficult, okay? But you want to move them off your board, and depending on where you move them off the board gives you one of these actions that we're talking about now. So it can give you another stone movement, it can give you another row building and things like that. So you just kind of, depending on where you drag it off the board.
The icons correspond with the rack over here of jars, which...
So if you get it off the board...
Yeah, you'll get 2 of any given action, or there's these purple tokens, there'll be 5 of them on the board, and you can claim one of those. It'll only give you 1 of the action, but it's worth 2 victory points at the end of the game.
So
these also happen to be located all over the map when you start out. Any location will have one of these, so you'll get to claim them, take the action, and then claim the victory points on the back. Now, some of them have 3 victory points, so you would just get 5 victory points, 2 for the back at the end of the game, and 3 immediately for taking the action.
Right. All right, so if you can get them off the board, you can play them on this board, and like you said. All right, so the other action is the parchment action. Now, the parchment action is different in the fact that the number of parchments touching is not the number of cards you're going to get. It is just how far you can go up to pick the one you want. So if I had 3 touching, I could pick the level 1 one, the level 2 one, or the level 3 one. I am not getting all 3. And that makes me sad inside. But they are pretty powerful in the sense that they're worth in-game victory points, so it does make sense.
It would have been broken if you got all of them.
It would have been broken. So I'm absolutely fine with the way they did that. I think that was actually a very smart way to kind of introduce that. So that was cool. The other action is actually building the roads. Again, every time you have an icon, that's the number of roads you get to build. That one's actually pretty straightforward. So if you have 2 matching icons, you take 2, you place 2.
But if you complete a path, just like in Ticket to Ride,
correct,
you get victory points. If it's a 1, you get 1 victory point. If it's 2 length, you get 3 victory points. And if it's 3 length, you get 6 victory points.
All right, now the last one, the last action item that we're talking about now is going to be the hexes. So the hexes...
The pentagram.
That feels like a hex to me.
Okay, but it's a pentagram.
It's a hex. I'm calling it hex for this point. All right, so pentagram, hex, whatever you want to call it. The number of those icons you get to move. Okay, so if I were to get 3, I'd go 1, 2, 3. Oh, look, now I get this token. Now this token is really nifty. I can use it immediately and get 2 of either of the actions that are on here, which in this case is a wand or a witch, or I can choose it to actually place it on my board to use in the future as an extra icon. At the beginning of the game, I found that to be super powerful because you know you're going to trigger it more than once. So that one was really nice. And actually, I would have placed it here.
Right, and this is where my grievance is. Of all the sections to get early in the game, I feel like the pentagram is super powerful to get it early in the game. When we played the game, I got no pentagrams for the first half of the game.
That's like all I got.
Yeah, well, yeah, but look how
that was all he got,
too,
the other guy.
And he was dominating, too, until the end. I'm just saying that it was much more beneficial. I had every wand at the beginning. I had, like, all 5 of my tiles had wands on them. So I'm like, okay, obviously I'm going for a wand strategy.
I couldn't get any stones at the beginning, and that was really rough on me. So, I mean, I think...
Well, I didn't either. I got a couple, but it was like the wands were clearly what the wizard spells told me I should be doing, because I got 5 of them that had wands. So logically, you would connect your wands, and the wand does not pay off early in the game. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
The pentagram, however, felt like it paid off big time, especially with whoever Christian was doing it, because he got like the 7. If the next space you get is for victory point tokens, and it starts at 7 and diminishes from there.
Yeah.
And he got like all the 7s and almost lapped me to get the ones after that. You got up there and got the 6s. You know, I barely beat him to get the 5 because he'd almost lapped me on that chart before I finally got up to the first spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. You were doing other stuff though.
Yeah, that didn't score any points.
Yeah, but you were still second place. He dominated on that track, and you still were second place. So to say that that's overly powered, I don't think so.
I was second place behind you by like 20-something points. It was
but
not even close.
I wasn't even the top earner in the Hex.
I understand that. I'm just saying, you dominated, and you took advantage of getting those tokens to get you. You had filled the board almost completely with roads, where you got me saying it. The energy paths.
Right.
So yeah, I think that there's certain things that are overly powerful early game, is what I'm saying.
Well.
And the wand is not one of them.
The one you need to wait to the end.
Yes, you want to do the wand later, but you still want to be the first on it.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to balance that one out.
The end of the game is after you've played 11 rounds, because you end up with 4 of these tokens left over that you're not going to get to use.
Yeah, I know, so sad. So there are a couple of things that I really liked about this. I liked you had tiles to plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I loved the fact that it wasn't like a random draw or a set order. It's I got 5, I got to choose the layout, and I got to choose that. I liked that a lot. I thought that was a good mechanic. I liked the placement on trying to figure out, how to match as many icons as you want, but still get the actions that you need at the time. So I really kind of liked that too. I was fine with the road building and that was okay. The end of game victory points is fine. The Hex thing was fine. But I think for me, I loved the board interaction. Yeah. This was super cool, and I really liked it.
Well, I mean, this was my favorite part of Bonfire, was this managing of your board. And when I saw this was going to have that, I'm like, oh, that's even cool. Really cool. It's got my favorite aspect, but it doesn't take 3 hours to play, and it doesn't take a ridiculous amount of time to learn how to play it or set it up.
Yeah,
which is Bonfire did.
We still have not got to replay Bonfire, which I am deeply saddened by. Okay. Yeah,
but what I like about this is that this aspect of the game was my favorite of Bonfire. So I think it's funny that it's coincidental. We got this game to the table about the same time of the year as we got Bonfire last year. It was actually I think it was right after Christmas we got Bonfire.
Why didn't we play this one on Halloween? This one would have been a good one. You made me play a bunch of weird ones.
We didn't play just weird ones. We played some good ones. Anyway, this one fits a lot of things. I mean, it's wizardly. It's not, but we did play the Witches, which was a Halloween one. So I mean, we played some. But yeah, I like the managing of this board. That was my favorite aspect as well. specifically, I liked actually getting the crystals off of the board. That was actually
Dude.
my favorite aspect of it.
Dude, when you finally got them off the board, you're like, hallelujah, you've been in my
Yeah.
way for so long. Like, listen, when I was like, oh, I can work around them. No, that is not what ended up happening. I just wanted them to go away.
Yeah. Well, but I also, that's how I came back on the scoring, was I think I did a very good job of managing as the crystals went off, taking the right actions to get them off in the way that would catch me up.
Right.
So I like that aspect of it. Was not a big fan of the pentagram. That was my frustration. First of all, you've got a pentagram, but then the track is a circle around the pentagram. So it would have made more sense if you somehow took advantage of the movement of the pentagram. You know, if you're going to take it, put a pentagram on
No,
there.
the circle's part of it.
Well, the whole point, I guess, but you know, it's like the star in the middle had no purpose whatsoever.
No, it has to do with the witch, the 5 elements, and you draw a circle. It's
okay. It just seemed like you drew you have a pentagram. There's lines going across it. Why not use those lines for some purpose?
no, it has to. Whatever. Anyway.
But I guess it connects the 5 points to where the scoring things are. But still, it just felt like, okay, why am I doing a circle around the pentagram? But either way, I'm not a witch. Whatever. But yeah, I was very frustrated going up the wand, finding that my victory point bonuses were nixed by being the first up the wand, just because the tokens I happened to draw at the very beginning were telling me I should go that direction.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, you're going to have some random, so that's just...
Yeah,
part
that
of
was
it.
a lot of random there.
Well, but I mean, I didn't have the stones. The stones can't get in my way. I got 1 stone until, like, the very end. They were all my last ones, so, you know, I mean, we all got hit in certain ways. You end up missing some, which is so lame.
But all in all, I still had a lot of fun playing this game.
It was fun.
It was, you know, it was definitely a good pickup, because I really like that aspect of Bonfire, but I really don't feel like I want to get Bonfire out every day to play because it's just so heavy. So this is something that if I want to play a game where I do that personal managing of territory, it's almost like a Tetris-y puzzle that you're putting together.
I like it.
That I can do that and focus 100% on that. So given that, I think I'm going to give this an 8. I think that's where I'm at. It was a lot of fun. I think I enjoyed it about the same level as the Red Rising game, if you haven't checked that review out. But that one was a good game. We played the same day as this, so...
I didn't get to play that one.
No, you didn't. You were sleeping?
Because that's what I do. It's a thing I do. I'm going to give this an 8.5. I really had a blast doing this. I was very sad when it ended, but I was totally okay because
you were tired again. You wanted to go to bed.
You know, that's typically my MO.
Yeah.
Like,
get one game in to go to sleep.
to be fair, I had been up like earlier and gotten a bunch of crap done. So, I'm an early morning person. See, like, you wake up at like 10, and by 10 o'clock, I've already done 2 loads of laundry. You know, like, I do a bunch of stuff, and so...
If I have to work, I don't. But in general, yes. On the weekend, I don't see any point in being up at ridiculously early.
It's not ridiculous early. Like, 7 o'clock is not ridiculous early.
Well, when you're up till 3 in the morning, it's really ridiculously early.
Yeah, I didn't plan accordingly.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast, and hopefully you guys did too. Hopefully we'll catch you guys again later.
Bye.
Bye.